Here now joining us, I've got Sheriff Mark Lamb from Pinal County, Arizona on Miller Time. How you doing, Sheriff? Welcome to the program.
Doing great. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
100%. We've been trying to do this for a couple of weeks. You're a busy man. You got a lot going on, but you're the sheriff of, how big is your county? What's the population?
So we're about 500,000 people. We'll find out after this census. We were really close to that before. I think we're going to be over that. And then our area is 5,400 square miles. So for those of you who are familiar with how big different states are here in the United States, we're the size of the state of Connecticut.
Yeah, okay. I've lived in Connecticut, so I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I happen to be in Johannesburg, South Africa at the moment, but I'm going to be soon back in Central Florida, and home of another great sheriff, by the way, that you know who he is.
Grady Judd, right?
Grady. I got to tell you, Grady's a really good man. He really is. I've met him several times. Couldn't say enough good things about him. So hope to get to meet you in person at some point.
Hey, I look forward to it as well. And it's funny because all the circles we're in, I've never actually met Grady. Although I'm a big fan of his. I think he does sheriffing the way it should. He speaks the truth and let the people decide whether they like it. It's just, I think all too often politicians now are trying to tell people what they want to hear. Where Grady just speaks the truth. So it's good.
100%. Tell me, I have so many things I want to ask you, but I just want to start out quickly with a bit of background for you. You are elected as the sheriff of Pinal County. So for people maybe that are watching this not in the United States, the sheriff is an elected position, and most counties in most states have them. I know the state of Connecticut doesn't have sheriffs. That's, I think, the only state in the U.S. that doesn't have elected sheriffs. But you're different than a police chief because you're elected by the people and you serve the people. Tell me, what made you decide? You're a businessman, right? You own businesses, and I don't really know what business you're in. I just know that you were an entrepreneur, you're a businessman, or you're a manager or something, but you were in business. What made you decide, gee, I think I want to be sheriff?
That's a great question. I owned my own business at the time. It was kind of a pest control, pigeon control, where I was putting up barriers to keep people's houses clean, keep the pigeons off of them. It was a good business, but I didn't love it. And I had a neighbor that said, hey, why don't you come on a ride along with me? And this was actually on an Indian reservation near Mesa, Tempe, Scottsdale. So it's a city reservation, but it's still a reservation. And I went on the ride along, and man, we had a blast that night. Went out looking for a guy, ended up finding him. I'm armed with courage and a flashlight. That's it. I came home that morning and I told my wife, I said, I'm going to be a cop. I immediately started taking those steps, and then I became a cop. And it was probably about 6-7 years into it, I realized that this profession lacks real good leadership. I mean, there's good leaders out there, don't get me wrong. But a lot of them are just supervisors. And I saw a real need for some good leadership. And I thought, you know what? Why don't I run for sheriff? So I started laying the groundwork for that. And in 2015, I threw my hat in the ring. And I, at that time, had a solar business. I was running a solar business between the time I stopped being a police officer and was getting ready to run for sheriff.
Sure.
And I was able to, I was successful and was able to win the election. But it's been a long path, and I've loved every minute of it. Some things more than others. But it has been, that's really the essence of why I got into it. I love God, family, and freedom. And I didn't like the direction that the country was going in under the previous administration. I was real pleased with President Trump and his administration, but I didn't like the way the country was going. I didn't want to be part of the people that just complained and didn't do anything about it. So I put my money where my mouth was, and I ran for office. And for those who aren't aware of what a sheriff is, you're right. Sheriff is elected by the people. And what makes that, it's a constitutionally protected position where I don't respond to anybody. People say, well, who's your boss? And I said, I don't have a boss. There's nobody that can tell me what to do except for the people of my county. And that is strength. That gives you a lot of strength to be able to do what you think is right to protect your community, and the people expect that. And so it's the beauty of being the sheriff, but it's not always easy.
Of course not. But unlike a police chief that either works for a city or a town or a state, in the terms of a state police or that type of situation, where they have, cities have city councils that decide who the police chief is, and if they don't like you, they'll get rid of you. And that's exactly right. You work directly for the people. We lost the video there. Okay, we got you back. You work directly for the people of the Pinal County, Arizona. Tell me just quickly, where in Arizona? I'm trying to place Pinal County, and I don't know if I can. So, are you in the north or are you in the south?
So we are actually kind of in the center of Arizona. So you've got Phoenix just right above us. So at the bottom of Maricopa County, right
Yep.
at the bottom of Phoenix, Chandler, that's where our county starts. And it goes all the way down to the top of the Tucson area. And
All
so
right.
we're everything between Phoenix and Tucson. And I mean, it's like I said, it's 5,400 square miles. It's a big county. All of our counties here in Arizona are big. There's only 15 counties. But yeah, that's where we're pretty central, south central, and we're between Phoenix and Tucson.
Okay. And we're talking to Sheriff Pinal County, Arizona Sheriff. You're in your second term now. Is that correct? Did you just not start your second term?
Yeah, I did. I just started.
Oh.
Thanks to the people of Pinal County voting me in for another term. It's my honor to serve them, and so just kicking off my second term.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you probably have no signs of slowing down. You probably are going to run for a third and fourth term, I'm sure, because you look like you're really enjoying the job, but more importantly, you're doing the job the way it's meant to be done. Just wanted to ask you quickly, just give us a size of your department. You've got how many deputies and non-sworn civilian people that are working for you?
So we've got an agency of about 650 people that we oversee. I've got 220 deputies, got about 100 and I'm a little low on staffing, but we're slated for about 170, 180 detention officers. So those are the guys that work in our jail. And then you've got your civilian employees. And then I also have a lot of volunteers that are active in our agency as well. So
Sure.
it's a good size agency. Obviously, we're not one of the biggest in the nation.
Yeah.
We're probably in the top 100 though, size wise for
Wow.
sheriff's offices.
That's really cool. I had no idea, but that's awesome. So you've got a lot of people working. You've got a lot of good deputies that are on the road, and obviously, don't want to forget dispatchers. I was a dispatcher for 2 years.
Right.
That is a thankless
Thank
job.
you.
Yeah, that's a. I'm telling you what, that is a crazy job. I can tell you, and there are people that do that job every day and for years, and I've known a lot of them. You're dealing with people on the phone while you're also answering radio calls, while you're also dealing. And I was also a jail officer, so I was dealing with the inmates while I have to do all these other things. There were 3 of us on the shift. It was crazy. The arrests
that is crazy.
They drop the arrest in the booking room and say, "I've got one there for you to book," and you got to go and fingerprint. That was fun.
That's a lot of work. And you're
yeah.
right. Dispatchers don't get the credit they deserve.
Yeah.
We are very cognizant. We recognize them as first responders here. They're the ones taking the calls. They don't get to see what's happening on the other side, yet they're dealing with the, sometimes frantic people on the other end of the line. It's a lot of work. It takes a lot of skill. It's something I'm not capable of doing, to be able to handle all those different things at one time. So they do a great job.
Actually do that for 20, 25, 30 years, and they do. And it's
Right.
like, I just, because you do get some abusive people on the phone, and they don't understand. I had a lady one time was wanting to have a police officer show up because there were people being loud, and she called, and I said, "Ma'am," she called on 911. I said, "Ma'am, this is an emergency line. This is an emergency line." And she said, "But I'm having an emergency." I said, "What's your emergency?" And she told me the same thing again. And I said, "Ma'am, that's not an emergency. I'll get an officer to, but please call in the non-emergency line. We'll help you." She called again 5 minutes later, and I said, "Ma'am, you're misusing 911. Well, they're in a fight now, and they're beating the crap out of each other, and one guy's laying on the ground." And she made this whole story up just so now I have to rush 3 guys. We had a small department. We didn't have that many guys on the road at 2 a.m, and I had to rush 3 guys off of other things to go and deal with what we thought was a giant fight in progress. And we get there, and there's nothing going on except somebody's playing loud music, down the road. So then, of course, our officers went over and had a chat with her about how to use 911. But I mean, people don't even realize, that goes on. And obviously the dispatchers are your eyes and ears when you're on the road. You as the sheriff, I mean, you really don't have to be, and a lot of sheriffs are not on the road doing road patrol, but you're out there. It looks like you're out there each and every day on the road, fully equipped. I see you're wearing a vest and you've got a gun belt on. You're ready to rock and roll, right?
Absolutely. I mean, I feel like you've got to be willing to do what you're asking your guys to do. I don't get
Yeah.
on the road as much time as I'd like to. I try to dedicate 10 hours a week where I'm getting on the road and being visible, working with the guys, understanding the issues they're dealing with so we can make good decisions as leaders in the agency. So I try to do the best I can. Some weeks are better than others, but yeah, you're right. A lot of sheriffs don't do that. And a lot of, sheriffs are up in their age, and they've been doing this job for a long time. I love the job. I love staying in shape. I love pushing myself, pushing the boundaries. And honestly, I just love being out in the community and being seen and giving the people, they voted me in, and I feel like you should be out there and let them see you doing the job. And so I try to do that as much as possible.
100%. I agree with you. Tell me what you think about the take on the current situation with law enforcement, and how do you feel being on the other side of the badge? Okay, so you're dealing with all these people that are. It seems like everywhere you go now, as police officers, you've got somebody waiting with a camera, just waiting to catch somebody doing something, and they can claim racism or they can claim police brutality. What is your take on this situation, and how does it feel going out on the road every day? Has it changed the job for you at all?
Oh, I would say that the job has changed substantially over the last 10 years, just with with the availability of camera phones and all that. But a lot of people know I was on live PD and we did
Yeah.
that. So we're not afraid to put cameras out there and document what we're doing. We're comfortable and confident in the work that we do. It's unfortunate that sometimes those are twisted by the media and people. They take little snippets and they try to make you look bad instead of showing the whole entire call or the whole what transpires during that interaction. They don't show all of that. They like to piece it together. I think the
Yeah.
media has done an enormous disservice to this profession and the politicians. See, and I've got a double-edged sword because I'm a law enforcement guy and a politician, so people hate you twice,
Yeah,
and it's
absolutely.
it's hard to juggle all of that. But my job is to take the bullets for the guys. I try to get out there and develop good relationships. And when it goes bad, I'm there to take those bullets for those guys so that they can continue to do their job. We pride ourselves on being an agency that lets our guys go to work. We still allow our guys to be police officers here. We don't get tied up in the false narrative of bias and all these things. That's not saying there aren't bad police officers, and that's not saying that there doesn't need to be some change here and there. But
Yeah.
on a whole, majority of the agencies in this country are doing a very good job, and these men and women who put on the badge do the best they can every day. And we're going to make mistakes. We're not perfect. We're trying to eliminate all the mistakes we can, but we're not perfect. And you're going to get bad apples, and we do the best we can as administrators to recognize those bad apples and weed them out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think that the majority of Americans don't be deceived by the media. If you live in another country or even in America, the media would have you believe that people don't like police. And that's not what studies show. Studies show that 70 to 80%, even amongst the other different racial communities, still support law enforcement.
Absolutely.
But the media and the politicians would have you try to believe different. And it's because we're the ones that are the glue and the fabric of these communities. The rule of law in America is so important, and that's being deteriorated. There are people that are using the rule of law to pit people against the president and other
Yeah.
people. And
Yes.
the rule of law is what defines us as Americans, because there's other countries with constitutions and there's other countries that are democracies that have failed. It's
Yep.
because they don't have the strength in the rule of law like we've had in America for so long. And you
100.
see the correlation as they deteriorate, when the media and politicians deteriorate that faith in your law enforcement. We're
Yep.
seeing our republic struggling more and more.
Yes, 100%, 100%. You mentioned one thing or two things there that I just wanted to touch on and just highlight. And the first thing is you get bits and pieces. You see little clips of videos. You see certain things. You don't know what led up to that part where you see the confrontation between the police officer or the deputy sheriff or the state trooper and the perpetrator. You don't see the beginning part of it because the person that decided to video came and only saw the reaction. They don't know why the police officer is responding with force. And I'm not talking about the police officers that respond with unjust force, or, we do know that there are police officers that do things wrong. We're not trying to say there's not. But at the same time, 99.9% of the law enforcement officers on the road, and yes, I believe it's that high, are doing the job correctly. They're doing the job with their training, and they're using the correct force at the correct time in America. I'm not going to make that claim for any other country because we don't, I'm here in South Africa. I can tell you there are things happening. Just the other day, we had a police officer that took a shambok to a guy near Western Cape somewhere, and the video is making its rounds on social media. And you would never see a police officer in America do that. That would never happen. There are situations and things that happen, of course, but it's less than 1%. It's less than 1/10% to me. That's the first thing. And the second thing is the media. The media is dishonest. I'm
Absolutely
saying this every day. The media not only in America, we've got the same problem here, we've got the same problem around the world, but as far as just saying in America, the main networks are dishonest. They're framing a narrative every time you turn around, and you have to wonder at that point, is there any decent media left? Are there any decent reporters that just want to go out and get the story and report it as it is?
There still are. There's still good journalists out there, but their voices aren't loud because they want people that will sell. They want you to sell advertising space. They want to sell newspapers, whatever, subscriptions to your online news line, site. That's what they're trying to sell. And so they want stories that sell. And sometimes the true journalists don't get the voice that they deserve.
Yes.
And so what we get is this jaded media. And what there's a lot of politicians that have politicized and weaponized the media. And so what they do is, if they want to push a narrative of anti-police and racial systematic racism, if they want to push these things, what they do is, when there's a bad thing, let's take Jacob Blake, for example, they want to take a little piece of it and they try to get their narrative out there first. They do it fast before the true narrative comes out, because a lot of Americans, we're just like, oh, that's the story. And we don't wait for all the facts to come in. It's very unfortunate that we've gotten to that point. So the media and the politicians, the people who have an agenda, they get out there, they get their story out, they set the narrative early on that's anti-police, very biased and not truthful. And unfortunately, when the truth comes out, people they're dubious to believe it because they've stuck with what the first message was. And so, I would just caution all Americans, please take the time to weigh out the facts and wait for all the facts to come in, because the media in most cases, and I've been attacked personally, and I can tell you right now, the truth is very hard to find in these things, and sometimes there isn't a lot of truth to it. They put a spin on it that makes it, sensationalizes it, or makes it where people want to tune in to hear about it. And that's, unfortunately, the media has been a huge
one out there with a story as well. That's the other thing. The network sometimes they'll rush out with details they can't confirm because they want to be the first to report. And I got to tell you, and I just want to point out to Sheriff Lamb from Pinal County, Arizona, that people in other countries, and I'm going to say South Africa because that's where I'm currently sitting, most of the news they get about what is happening in the United States of America comes from CNN, because DSTV, the main satellite carrier in the southern region of Africa, that's the network they choose to carry. So when you're getting your news from CNN, you're not getting the most accurate news reporting. I can guarantee you that. So we just want to point that out.
Yeah, and CNN, I don't ever watch CNN.
No,
but I was in an airport maybe a couple months before the election, a month or two before the election, and I was listening to that CNN, and I was appalled. I was appalled by the things they were saying. I was appalled by, they could not talk about President Trump. I don't
Yeah.
know what they're going to do now. And I've just said they need President Trump because that's the only way they've been getting viewers.
Yeah. That's
Now
right.
they don't have him, the big bad boogeyman, to go blame and to talk about all the time. Everything was about him. And frankly, it was a lot of dishonest reporting. And so
Yeah.
it's sad that that's how the world is viewing it. And they're getting biased news in the beginning, and then that what that's doing is spreading this misinformation across the world. So
100%.
I think the days of big media, like those places you watch, there's going to be a hardcore decline on that. The ratings have dropped tremendously for Fox and all the other places.
Yeah.
The Americans we're fed up with
And
them, and we're
I
realizing that we're being hoodwinked.
I've been getting my news from Newsmax lately. That seems to be the best chance. I'm getting it via the internet because I'm here in South Africa. But I have to tell you quickly, you mentioned the last time you saw CNN, you were in an airport. The last time I saw it, I was in the U.S. consulate here in Johannesburg because I had to go and renew my passport last March or April, I think it was. And I was shocked that while I'm sitting there and waiting for them to call me to the window, there's a television on the wall to my right, and there is CNN. And I'm thinking this is like going to church, and while you're sitting in the auditorium before the service starts, having someone stand there and tell you about how Jesus isn't real for 20 minutes. Why would you, as a person, this is the place basically where people that are coming to get visas to come and visit the United States, this is where they're going to be sitting. So you're going to sit here and tell us how horrible the United States is while I'm sitting in the U.S. consulate. Does that make sense?
Oh, and that's the same thing. The same people that want to open our borders, because all these people are trying their damnedest to come into this country, and the same people who want to open our borders will sit and tell you how bad America is. If it's truly that bad, why are these people risking their lives and everything they have to come to this country? It's because it's still the greatest country. It is. Freedom is still alive, although they are doing the best they can to strangle that freedom out of it. But freedom is still alive, and the American spirit still exists, and you're starting to see more and more of that American spirit.
And it's up to patriots like you, like me, like Sheriff Grady Judd in Polk County, Florida, like others, to stand up for the Constitution, defend the Constitution, and basically, it's like this in the state of New Hampshire on the license plates. It says "Live free or die." I remember that when I was living in Connecticut. I used to see it a lot, and I think it's very fitting, especially in 2020, 2021, when we're all running around here being told we have to do this because of COVID and that because of COVID. Live free or die, man. Once you give up your liberties, once you give up your freedoms, they're never going to come again. So don't be so quick to give up freedoms and liberties to government. I know you got to go, and I know you're a busy man, and I'll let you go here. I just wanted to mention two things to you. Number one, is it hard for you to fill those vacant deputy spots now as a result of what's happened in the last year or so? Are less people interested in doing the job?
Yeah. I mean, look at what they've done. They've just systematically attacked it. And so now people are just reluctant to do the job. Certain states like Illinois have removed qualified immunity. And for those of you who don't understand qualified immunity, what it is that when a police officer goes out and does the job and he's doing the best he can, he's making the best decision that he can make in the heat of the moment, there was always a qualified immunity. As long as he was doing his job and didn't do anything illegal, immoral, or unethical, there was some immunity there to a lot of this. Didn't mean that they didn't get charged or sued. There was some protection there. And now a lot of these states are attempting to remove it, like Illinois. And so you're going to have a really tough time. Now, one of the things people always ask me, well, why do you do things like live PD, and why do you do things like 60 days in, and why do you do things like write a book and all these things? And the reason why is because I want to give my agency the best advantage for hiring, and it has worked. It has given people an opportunity to view our agency, and we get laterals and people that want to come live in Pinal County. We get people that want to come work here. So yes, it is harder to hire. The other thing that's making it harder are the drug restrictions. In Arizona, if you smoked marijuana 20 times or within the last 2 years, you could not become a police officer. Now they legalized it. So you're finding a lot of people that can't pass the backgrounds either. So yeah, it's tough, and we're all fishing. Here's how I explain it. All us agencies are fishing from the same pond, but that pond now is small, and it's a muddy little pond, and it's full of carp and junk fish instead of some trout, and those are few and far between. And we're all fighting to pick up those bass and trout. What's left of them.
100%. Now, there are still a lot of good reasons to come and work. And obviously, if you want to do the job and you still have that, sometimes it's in the blood. You want to be a law enforcement officer. I don't think there's not too many places where you can really do it properly and work for a great guy as you can in Pinal County. So if you're looking to be a deputy, you want to work in law enforcement, give him a call, shoot him an email. We'll put his contact details up there, and get in touch and go and interview with these guys. Because I'm telling you what, if I was in the market to jump in the job now, I would want to come and talk to you. Sheriff Mark Lamb, Pinal County, Arizona.
And I appreciate that plug. I mean, and yes, if you're looking to get in this profession, it is still a very good profession. It's an honorable profession. You're not going to become wealthy doing it, but you can go home and lay your pillow down every night knowing you've done your best. And I'll tell you, this job will take it's going to push you. It's going to challenge you. But that's what we're here for. That's what this life is about, is to challenge ourselves and be the best we can be. You can't listen. I've been to a lot of calls where people have passed away and not a single one of them left with their wallet or their money or anything else. All you get to leave with is a legacy that you've left here in this world. And so I would just say to you, money isn't everything. Challenge yourself. And if you don't like the way that police is, then why don't you come be part of the solution? Come show us how it's done. Come be part of it. And we're always hiring, and we're looking for people that want to challenge themselves and do that job. So please come out.
Absolutely, 100%. And quite frankly, we need you. We need our law enforcement. This is what makes the difference between the United States and every other country on the planet, is the men and women.
And you're seeing that. I'm sorry to interrupt, but you're seeing that now. Look, Antifa just destroyed a Democrat Party building up in Oregon.
I heard that.
There are people that don't like America. They don't like freedom. They don't like being governed. And look, I don't necessarily love everything the government does either, but you have to have rules. You have to have the rule of law. Well, there are a group of people that want to undermine everything completely, and they don't care whether you're a Democrat or Republican. They don't care if it's Joe Biden or President, and erode what this country is founded on, which is this was founded on people who wanted to practice their religion freely. They wanted to live life freely. They wanted to own property. They wanted minimal government restriction, and they wanted just freedom. And now you have to array at family values and everything. And so we're going to need police. Those same people on the left that are calling for defunding the police, you watch in 6 months to a year, still having problems with Antifa. All of a sudden, they're going to be calling for more. Unfortunately, by then, they'll have damaged the profession to a point where it's going to be very difficult.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. You're right. And Sheriff Lamb, thank you. We're having a bit of a problem here with the signal now. I don't know if it's your end or my end, but I'll let you get to it. I know you're itching to get on patrol.
Yeah,
yes.
If I could just make one last plug, I wrote a book called American Sheriff. If you get a chance, you can get that at AmericanSheriff.com, or you can also pick that up on Amazon. And then my Twitter, I don't do Twitter much anymore, is Sheriff Lamb 1. Facebook is Sheriff Lamb, and Instagram is American Sheriff. So please come check me out. I'm not doing this to get followers. I'm doing this because if you want to stand together as people who love this country and love freedom, and we're going to try we're going to try to fix this
100%.
Like the way it was designed to, and that's through, getting back. Are we still good?
Yeah, we lost you there. You're garbled. Now you're back. I think your signal's bad that side, but that's fine. No, understand 100%. And I'll make sure all those plugs, all those things get put on the graphics as well on the video. And I follow you on Instagram, and I love your account. I love your posts, and you do get out in the community there quite often. and talk to people and things like that. So I'm going to be back in the States at some point here in the next couple of months. Hopefully, maybe I'll get out to Arizona and go on a ride along and get to see firsthand what happens there in Pinal County with you. I'd love it.
Sounds good. You're always invited, and I'm hoping to get out to Florida and promote the book as well. So maybe we'll catch each other either there or in Arizona.
Well, if you get to Florida and I'm back there, give me a shout. You got my number, and I'll buy you a coffee or something. I've got stories to tell you about South Africa that will it will just shock you. Then again, maybe it won't. Sounds like you heard some of them already, but we'll chat. So, Sheriff Mark Lamb, thank you for taking out a good portion of your morning and talking to me here.
Thank you. God bless, and thanks for your time, Dustin.
All right. Take care. This is Miller Time on the Miller Time Media Channel.